All right. Woo! All right, here we go. James, welcome. You are the first one, brother. Man, I better make sure that everything is going good. Last Wednesday, I actually did a show and turned out to be nobody was here. And that's on me. That's on me, my mistake, but I want to make sure the same thing does not happen again. So let me see here. All right, I saw the James comment, and okay, there it is. There it is. There it is. James, man, welcome. Hey, James. Hey, man, we'll talk Lions all day long. I'll talk Lions all day long. It's been a great week too. Scott, welcome. Hey, Scott, I'm going to get this out of the way now because my phone's dead. I was super busy today, so I wasn't able to respond to your texts. You remember 2 years ago where Patrick Mahomes just came out of the chute and he was playing at a very, very high level, and people were talking about him possibly winning MVP, and he won MVP. Russell Wilson's having one of those years. So Russell Wilson or Tannehill, go with Russell Wilson. He's just having a fantastic, fantastic year. Alex, no. Hey, listen, man, being 0-2 is hard, and you have a tough matchup this week. But the one thing I want to tell you is that I'm going to do kind of a special. I didn't have as much time to do the show prep as I normally do. My schedule's been kind of hectic, but yeah, exactly, Scott, exactly. But the one thing I'll tell you is that 0-2 is a bad mark, and even if they go 0-3, don't be too disappointed because there's a lot of talent on that team, and I feel like you can right the ship. I'm going to touch base on all the 0-2 teams because there are certain teams I think they're 0-2, and I think the season's over. Certain teams are 0-2 and can go ahead and get things turned around. And the Houston Texans are one of those teams. One of those teams. So, by the way, James, I'm going to throw this as a spoiler alert. I do think your Lions are. I'm sorry, man. The Lions are one of those teams that I really think they're going to have to rebuild. But yeah, and Scott, what the deal is I think Russell Wilson's just having one of those all time great seasons. So yeah, but yeah, and the thing is with the Lions is it's kind of unfortunate because I'm pulling for the Lions because I've been on the Luke G show twice. He was nice enough to let me come on twice, and I got some love from Lions fans, great fans. But this is a team. Before the season started, I tried telling people there was no way that this team was going to be good. No way this team was going to be good. You had so many new starters on the defensive side of the ball, first year defensive coordinator. You don't know what you're getting from Stafford. And, this is a team I really think that has to rebuild. So, keep in mind, Alex, I'm going to just go through the comments here in order. So I'm going to answer everyone's comments here. The thing is, keep in mind, last year they were 4-7 and won the last 5. And then the year before, I have to do math in the head because they won 6 out of 7. So what was that? 4-6. I remember they lost to the Saints, I think at home, like 45-10. And then they won 6 out of the last 7. Then last year they won 5 straight. So the Eagles are the one team that can do bad at the beginning of the year. And by the way, that's a game you might want to put action on, the Eagles and the Bengals, because you have 2 0-2 teams that really need to turn their season around, 2 teams that have quarterbacks that throw the ball around. Take the over on that game. I didn't have a chance to look, like I was saying earlier, my phone's dead. I think the line's like 46 or something like that. That's games you're putting action down. Take the over on that game. That could be a very high scoring, entertaining game. But the Eagles should beat the Bengals. If they lose to the Bengals and they're 0-3, that's going to be something bad. Um, yeah, yeah. I thought so too. But if they can get the defense turned around and Stafford can play, I think he's playing fine. I didn't have a chance to see how many times Swift touched the ball, but he needs to get more involved in the offense. Yeah, they do. You are completely correct, and it's funny because I like Adam Gase as an offensive mind, and I was actually higher on the Jets than most people, but that team looks terrible. Also, Mike, I am probably going to join Bovada either tomorrow or Friday, and it kind of depends because the lines on Bovada I don't like, but I went 0-3. I dropped 250 over the weekend, which is okay. But the drive to Iowa and the drive back, I don't. It's a lot of time that I really didn't have a chance because I worked Saturday. I got off work, drove to Iowa, drove back, and then my whole day is shot. So I'm probably going to join Bovada. I'm going to let you know ahead of time. If I put action down on Thursday night, I'll try to release a video. I kind of like Jacksonville if I can get 2.5 right now. I think everybody's doing 3. But if I join up with Bovada, I'm going to let you know because I know you're asking about online betting. I meant to do that sooner, but I think if I put down action going forward, I think I'm going to use Bovada. I like going to a casino better, but I don't have the time to go up to Iowa every weekend, especially if I'm working overtime on Saturdays. I think you're right. I think there's a very good chance, and if I'm right, it's Martha Ford's daughter that took over ownership of the Lions. So Martha Ford said that they expected the playoffs, and then she stepped down. I think it's her daughter who stepped up as the new owner of the Lions. But I think that you could see a new coach step into play. It wouldn't surprise me even if they're 0-4 if they keep Patricia, but I see no way he keeps his job. No way he keeps his job. I think, well, you know what? I haven't had a chance to look here, but I looked at the Vikings. I know they're playing Tennessee, and the line on the game is only 2.5, which is a little surprising. Like I said, my phone's dead. I haven't chance to check everything. It wouldn't surprise me if Minnesota turns it around. Tennessee's always been kind of an up and down team. If Tennessee stays the way they're playing, I could see them winning the game. They should win the game. But keep in mind with the Vikings, once Danielle Hunter comes back, Ngannou gets things turned around. They have a young secondary. The Vikings are a team I think that could be coming around. But I don't know if they can beat Tennessee Titans or not. I'm not going to put action on that game. Detroit is going to play. They're at Arizona. They no offense, Lions fans. Arizona looks pretty good right now. I'm not saying they can't win the game, but I don't expect them to. So, and my apologies here. I've got some great comments here. No, Alex, the Giants are. I thought this was going to be a bad team. And the reason why is that they have a very young defense and they don't have a star and they don't have a pass rusher. And you have an offense that's young. And then you lose Barkley, who for my money is the best running back in football. So the answer is no. They're definitely not. They weren't going anywhere anyway. So I'm drinking water today. But I'm super amped up. So if you feel like you're getting less, no, trust me, I'm super jacked up. They signed a quarterback. I was not aware. You know what? I'm going to tell you something, James. Chiefs fans felt the same way. So you will get things turned around. I heard Watt looked really good. I heard Watt is back, and I'm going to tell you something. Watt's not back. When I say he's not back, I'm not saying he's not good, but he had a 3-year stretch where he had 2 seasons of over 20 sacks as a 3-4 defensive end. That's nearly impossible. He looked like maybe the best defensive player I've ever seen in my life. He's never going to be that good, but if Watt can be 85-90% of what he was, oh man, then there's a lot of talent on that team. Even if you lose and go 0-3, you're still in luck because you got one of the best young quarterbacks in football. You have a lot of talent on that defense. Even at 0-3, the Texans are a team that can turn it around. The Texans are a team that can turn it around. Don't be frustrated and don't give up if you're a Texans fan. So, yeah, I think so. Dan Quinn. Oh God, I am so sorry, man. That game, I was shocked that they lost that game. If you pay attention to my video, I had the under for some stupid reason. I was really expecting both teams to run the ball, not get into a shootout. So, but yeah, Dan Quinn has to be a minimum of 9-7 in playoffs. I think he's 9-7, no playoffs. And here's the thing: the Falcons may completely blow up the whole team. You could have Dimitroff gone. You could have Dan Quinn gone. You could have Matt Ryan gone. You could have Julio Jones gone. One thing I really like about the Falcons is you have a Hall of Fame quarterback, you have a Hall of Fame wide receiver, bring in defensive coaches. You may just want to blow up the whole team, and it would be really sad because Matt Ryan and Julio Jones are such good players, and they've been there for such a long time. You may get a coach who comes in and blows the whole thing up. You may get a coach who comes in and keeps it all the same way. I think Atlanta is one of those franchises, one of those few rare franchises, and I hate to bring it up, but there's been so many rumors over the last couple of years of Lincoln Riley, the Oklahoma head coach, coming to the pros. He's not going to go to all franchises, but he could go to Atlanta. But he would have to have his quarterback. He would have to have a guy from the college ranks. He wouldn't come to an NFL team and he wouldn't coach his system with Matt Ryan. At least I don't think he would. I think they are. I really don't think that they're going to be 0-3 and probably 0-4 when they hit the bye. It'll be very interesting to see how they handle the whole situation. It wouldn't surprise me if Patricia was fired. It also wouldn't surprise me if they keep him for the end of the year and then see at the end of the year fire him and hire somebody. I think it's going to be Eric Bieniemy, the Chiefs offensive coordinator. I've been saying that for a long time. I think that's a really good fit. Really, I actually signed up for an account. They have some sort of promotion. It's like you get 50% up to $250. So this sounds like $325. I have no idea when they do their payouts, and that's kind of what I want to find out because I want to find out, can I make a bet Sunday? When do I get paid? Now I wouldn't be able to get that bonus. I'm fully aware of that, but when would I be able to get paid? Do I have to wait like 2-3 weeks in order to collect? I mean, I have to find that out. I've heard about that too. And then if you remember, Le'Veon Bell was complaining. And Gase, that whole situation with the Jets, I don't remember specifically, but it was, if you remember Greg Williams, he was the one who was called out for Bountygate. One of the assistants who apparently called him out or got him in trouble is, I think, like the linebacker coach or receivers coach for the Jets. There was always some turmoil within an organization. Apparently Greg Williams and Adam Gase never really got along all that well. And now it's kind of overflowing. So yeah, the Jets are in a bad situation. I actually thought that they were a team that could be surprisingly good because they made a lot of changes on the offensive line. I thought that would be a major boom. I actually thought that they could be a team that could be sneaky good, but no, I think that they're just I think that they're a team that is just yeah, you said it. Yeah, I feel James. I feel you, but it depends on how long you've been following me. I've been warning Lions fans. I was high on under 6.5, and it went up to 7. I was trying to find out because here's the thing: when Lions fans tell me, because I'm not going to call them out, but one of the guys at DSA made a video. Detroit's going to win the North, and I'm like, oh no. You can't make a video saying Detroit's going to win the North and not put action on over 6.5 wins. So I knew that there is wishful and hopeful thinking, but when people that weren't Lions fans were talking about Detroit being a sleeper, I was like, what are you seeing that I'm not seeing? I tried telling you guys, your defense is going to be bad. You have to have an offense that's going to score over 30, and you have some good pieces in play. There are some good pieces for the Detroit Lions, and I've been calling it. I think it's going to be Eric Bieniemy because Eric Bieniemy, there's a lot of things that is appealing to a guy like Eric Bieniemy who's been trying to be a NFL head coach. And I don't want to touch base on this too much because it's not my place to say, but and let's be real. There's 32 NFL teams. The NFL's what, 85% African American? I mean, is that fair to say? And there's 2 black NFL head coaches. I mean, come on. So Eric Bieniemy is going to be an NFL head coach next year. It's just a question of where. I think Detroit's the perfect fit because here's what the advantages are. You're under no pressure to win right away. None. You could be 8-8 and they would throw you a parade. And there's talent on that team. He would just run the offense. He would get a really good defensive coordinator, and I think they're going to double dip. I think John Dorsey is going to be the GM there too. So you really think, wow, you know what? I know that, by the way, your Titans look really good. I got to warn you. Let me ask you something, Music City guy. How many games is Derrick Henry going to play? Because they can't have that many touches. They can't have that many touches, and he's not going to last the whole season. He has yet to play a full season. Watt kind of like Bill. Well, I mean, I don't see that, but I mean, still want. Bill O'Brien is the most hated guy, but I'll tell you what, I think they're going to turn it around, and I think he's got a good relationship. Unless they go like 5-11 with a healthy Watson, he's not going anywhere. It's actually funny because that's a game that a lot of people are really looking at. They're going to play the Bears, and I think they're favored to win, which is really weird. I have to double check on that, but a lot of people are talking about that game. So that's going to be a very interesting game. I think it's a game they could win. I think they could surprise people, but if Chicago goes 3-0, I've been kind of high on Chicago. By the way, I don't want to go too much detail. This one jackass, he's like, oh yeah, Bears going to win the division. I was like, where's your bet slip? And of course, he didn't have one. But I mean, that said, I think there's a lot of things to like about the Chicago Bears right now. Oh, dude, hey Alex, out of the $1,000 I bet before the season, I have 400 on Seattle over 9.5 and 100 on Seattle winning the division. If both those things happen, I win my money back. I do have 250 on, 250 on Houston finishing with over 7.5 wins. So we need Houston to get going there. I have 250 on it. Jimmy, no, I do not. And I thought about that because Bovada does have that option. So, you know what they have is a lot of offensive talent. He also was a coach in Minnesota for a very long time. And I think that what's going to happen is I think they're going to hire John Dorsey as the GM first. And I think Dorsey's really going to push for Eric Bieniemy to come in because I think those two guys together. But the thing is with Detroit, taking a team that's at a losing franchise but talent. So basically, it's an old business proverb. It's a under promise, over deliver, and that's what he would be able to do with the Detroit Lions. Because I mean, the Detroit Lions look like they're going to be about 4 or 5 win team. He could come in right away and put that team the 8-8. Let me ask you this: let's say the Detroit Lions win 4 or 5 games. Eric Bieniemy comes in year 1 and goes 8-8. How would you feel? So. Really? That is interesting. Hey, Jimmy, if you don't mind in the comments, and I'm going to try to get everybody here, who do you use? Because I looked up Hey Bookie, but I've heard a lot of people using Bovada. What really sucks, though, is that the couple games I have liked so far, I'm getting half a point in the opposite way to what I'm seeing at Iowa. And there's 2 games I really like early on, but I'm getting, and by the way, if you don't know, 3.5 and 3 is there, it's a big difference. It's not like 4 and 4.5, that extra hook means a lot. So, I'm glad, hey Pete, man, I'm glad you're here, brother. I'm glad you're here. No, it doesn't, man. Everybody does, but you know what? Everybody wants Eric Bieniemy, but he interviewed for the Giants job, and I think that they made a bad decision. And I don't even want to say it, but was it this? I mean, I'm not going to touch that, but I mean, one guy's white, one guy's black. That's what I'm going to say. So, Matt Patricia is, and who else? I'm sorry, I'm got a lot of things here going on. Which coach are you talking about from the Belichick tree? Oh yeah, you know what? That's one thing about Atlanta is they've gone after. Remember, before you had Dan Quinn, you had Mike Smith, who was a really good defensive coordinator, depending on who you talk to. But he's somebody who I really think that. Matter of fact, let me throw out 2 names that I think could be the Falcons head coach, and let me ask you which one you want. There's 2 names, and they're 2 completely different schools. One is the splash big name, and that's Rex Ryan, because he would bring an attitude. It would be very, very fun to watch. As a football fan, I would like it. But I think the name that the guy I think they're going to go after is Dennis Allen. He's the Saints defensive coordinator, and he really turned the Saints defense around despite the 34 they gave up on Monday night. He was a former head coach with the Raiders when Al Davis's final years, but he's a guy I think that's going to get another chance to be an NFL head coach, unless he loves it in New Orleans. But I think he's looking to be an NFL head coach. I think he would be a great fit for the Falcons because they run similar defenses, and he wouldn't even have to do anything with the offense. He would just leave the offense alone. Keep in mind, Dirk Cutter, the offensive coordinator, was the head coach of the Bucs. If Dan Quinn does get fired, there's a chance they may promote him. But since he failed with the Buccaneers, there's a good chance that they may let the head coach come in and clean house. Now, if you have a new general manager who replaces Dimitroff, you could be looking at just exploding the whole team. It'll be very interesting to see what the Falcons do in the offseason if they don't turn things around. I think they can. All right, so I'm gonna make sure I get everybody here. Yeah, I bought in. I thought the Jets could be better. Remember, they invested $60 million in the offensive line. They drafted Becton, who has all the talent in the world. He was going to be a starter on the right side. I thought really was going to make a big difference. You had Le'Veon Bell. I loved Sam Darnold coming out of USC. He was my number 1 quarterback by a landslide. I loved him a lot more than Lamar Jackson. I look like a jackass now, but hey, that's just how it is. I loved Sam Darnold, and I really thought that they would work together. Now it's like, oh God. Um, it depends on who they bring in, and that's the thing. And that's kind of the reason why I think Eric Bieniemy would really like it. I think Eric Bieniemy, because he was a coach in Minnesota and he's familiar with playing against Stafford. He has a working knowledge of going against Stafford firsthand. I think that he would want to keep Stafford. I don't know. I've never sat down with Eric Bieniemy and said, hey, what is your opinion about the Detroit Lions? But my guess would be that he would work with Stafford and he would run a similar offense that the Chiefs run, because that's what's been par for the course. Both Matt Nagy and Doug Peterson run very similar offenses to what Andy Reid runs, and I think that the Detroit Lions have similar personnel to what the Chiefs have. So they would basically be able to run the Chiefs offense. And I think that it would really be better to run the Chiefs offense, which is extremely complex with a veteran quarterback like Stafford. So that's another reason why I think Bieniemy would be a perfect fit for Detroit, because I think that you unless you want to take a guy who blows up the whole team, which I don't think would be a good move. I think that while you have a franchise quarterback, keep the franchise quarterback. But that's just my opinion here. Music City guy, if he's still here, he's thinking the same thing. Hey, by the way, guys, I'm just looking at StreamYard. I have no idea whatsoever, but please give me a thumbs up on YouTube. It helps the algorithm. The more people we get in, the better it goes. So yeah. So the Texans fan here. So yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I wasn't planning on injuries, but I've been trying to tell 49ers fans that they don't have that good of a team. I got a bunch of name calling from Niners fans. So and you know what? What was it? 40-50 yard touchdown by Fournette. Arians loves bigger running backs. It wouldn't surprise me if they go ahead and sign him to an extension, because he's basically a free agent after a year. Wouldn't be surprised if they sign him to an extension. So I'm kind of thinking that's what's going to happen here. But yeah, your Bucks are in first place and look really good. Some people said they struggled against Carolina. I don't think they really struggled. Carolina's a bad team. I think being down by a touchdown to Carolina is like being down, or being up by a touchdown. The Carolina's like being up by 20 to some teams. I think Carolina's a bad football team. But yeah, your Bucks are back in first. And the more Fournette gets familiar with that team, the better they are going to be. Godwin, I think, is coming back. You have to quote me on that one. I'm thinking the same thing. Because I think the Bears are one of those false 2-0 teams. Atlanta's a team, I think, that of all the 0-2 teams, Atlanta's one that I do like. I also like Philly to try to get things turned around. Also still like Minnesota. Of course, I have kind of a man crush on Mike Zimmer, and maybe it's one of those things. Okay, Scott, you were talking about Eric Bieniemy. What the deal is with oops, I'm sorry. I kind of man, I'm backed up on the comments. I'm going to get every single one of them. What the deal is, and it's the number one thing. And for Lions fans, you remember when Mike Patricia got hired, they brought up a DUI in 1997 when he was on spring break in Florida. All right. Who doesn't go down to Florida for spring break and get a DUI? But it was brought up and it was made a big deal out of. Well, I don't know the whole detail, but bottom line, he was either kicked out of the stadium or out of the University of Colorado for a whole year due to an incident with a female. What happened was he was part of the national championship team with the University of Colorado, was an offensive coordinator there. He was there at a football game as a spectator, and he got into an altercation with a female, and it resulted in him either being suspended from the university. I think it was the whole university. He wasn't allowed on campus for a whole year. And with the everything that's been going on, that's a big reason. I also think that it could be I mean, it could be race related, but I think because that's going to come up when whatever team hires Eric Bieniemy is going to have to deal with that altercation, and that's going to come up, and that's going to be a big deal. And I think that's probably the number one thing. Could he not interview well? Possibly, but if you've heard him on post game shows like I have, he does well. And I also think that he's been prepped enough by Andy Reid and Matt Nagy and Doug Peterson to know what to say in interviews. I think it's more to do with this incident that happened in Colorado, and I don't know the whole detail. So. I remember that game. I was blown away by that. But that's kind of what I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking about putting 300. I wasn't going to use Bitcoin. I was just going to do a deposit, but I haven't had a chance. I used to play a lot of poker. I'm a cash game player, and I got to play live. I had aspirations years and years ago of being a professional, but that quickly died out because I play. Most people like playing tournaments. It's more fun. I play very basic ABC poker. Play cash games. Basically, I play like top 15 hands. Probably one of my best nights. I was there for 3 hours, didn't play a hand, and then 3 hands I made like $700. I'm not going to go into details, but that's the way I play the best, and unfortunately can be very tedious. So I don't play poker anymore. I'm quote unquote retired from poker, but I probably won't use that. I'll probably go with either MyBookie or Bovada. I'm leaning towards Bovada. But the thing is, though, I'm not really a fan of the lines for this week, which is frustrating because the 2 games I really like, they're a half point over what Iowa is, and the difference between 3 and 3.5 is huge. Is it really that bad in Detroit, man? Is it really that bad that I would be very frustrated, and I think it really hurts the Lions that there was a lot of love for the Lions, and I remember just asking people, "What's the love with the Lions?" Because people that weren't Lions fans were telling me, "Hey, this is a surprise." There's one guy who had them winning the North, and I'm like, what are you seeing? And he's like, "Oh man, all these new pieces in play," and I think he's a guy. I'm not going to call him out, but I think he's a guy who plays too much Madden. And what it is that Madden, you can interchange pieces, but that defense is so complex. You need an off season. Hey, by the way, guys, don't forget, give me a thumbs up here. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Show me some love, man. By the way, I have no idea because I'm not even looking at YouTube. I could have 50 thumbs downs right now. But yeah, the thing is, though, the reason why I would love Rex Ryan in Atlanta is that you would just leave the offense alone. I think they gave Dirk Cutter a lot of money. And if they're smart, they have Dirk Cutter, who's got a ton of coaching experience. He would basically be like an assistant head coach. Basically, Rex Ryan would be head coach, but basically his job would just be to run the defense. I think Dennis Allen would be a better fit. And I think he would be the number one guy that I really think that the Falcons will target. But keep in mind, it's only 0-2. Remember, they started off 1-7 last year and got hot late. So, but yeah, Pete, man, I love Sam Darnold. I think it's a damn shame, but I think that Adam Gase is going to be gone, and there's a chance he could be gone before the season is over. And I think there's a very good chance that when they bring a name in, there'll be a good chance that I think Darnold will end up staying in New York, at least for the next couple of years. They need to build some things around him, but they also made some really bad free agent choices. The linebacker from Alabama who's sitting out, that was one. They gave Le'Veon Bell a lot of money, and then Gase wasn't happy with him. So, yeah. Mike, what is up, brother? Oh, Mike, hey, side note here, I had a long conversation with Chad earlier today, and we need to get together on a weekend. I am so glad you joined. Mike, you better give me a thumbs up, man. I better at least get one thumbs up. So yeah. You know what, here's the deal, Jimmy. I only put 400 on Seattle over 9.5. And the reason why is those 40% of my bankroll. I really was planning on taking a couple thousand and betting it on the beginning of the season, but my financial situation kind of got turned around and I was only able to put 100. And then I put 700 on opening week, which ended up being negative like 127.30. And then I lost 250. So like as of right now, I'm down like 377.30 for the year, but I feel confident making it up. And even if I don't, that 1,000 I have at the beginning of the season, the Seahawks over 9.5 looks really good right now. Plus I have 100 to win the division. That 100 will pay me 210. So that bet alone will put me in the positive for 1,000. I have 250 on Houston. I still feel confident on them covering 7.5. The Saints over 10.5. I have 150. That looks bad right now, but I also have the Patriots over 9 for 100. So I feel good about that. I feel good. I love Leonard Fournette, and I really thought that it was kind of unusual for him to go to a West Coast offense in Jacksonville, so I wasn't sure how that was going to work. I was like, it's like a square peg in a round hole. But going to Tampa with Bruce Arians is a perfect fit for him. A perfect fit. And the more acclimated he gets with the offense, I have to look at the stats because I liked Ronald Jones. It's just that Ronald Jones to me is a guy that I think he's best suited for like 200 touches, where Leonard Fournette can handle the 350 touches. Leonard Fournette is a perfect fit, and I feel good for him. I think Tampa Bay will extend him. So, oh man, Mike is going to be mad. Mike is going to be mad here. That whole division, those two teams, it's going to be very interesting. I think the Saints will get things back when Michael Thomas comes back. He was the best receiver in football last year. He's a really good receiver. I have to admit, though, Breeze did look a little off, and I was always wondering because for 3 straight years they were the best team in the NFC. At least I thought they were, and now, maybe after being that good, as the window closed, giving up 34 to the Raiders was disheartening. But I still think the Saints are probably still going to win that division. I don't know if the Bucs are overrated because Bruce Arians, with Leonard Fournette added to that offense, that defense is good, man. That defense is good, and I don't think that they're 12-win good, but they're a team I had them pegged at 9-7. I think Fournette would give them like 10, 11 wins. And bottom line, you don't want to play Tampa Bay in the playoffs because you don't want to play Brady in the playoffs. That's bottom line, because bottom line, the thing with Tampa Bay and Bruce Arians, they really want to run the ball. They really want to play old school. And the thing is with Arians is he's always been a guy who's like a big, strong quarterback, 7-step drops and throw deep, and that's not Brady's game. But if you run the ball and you have Brady just doing checkdowns and throwing intermediate routes, they're not a team that's going to score 30, 40, 50 points a game, but they're a team that plays good defense. They control the ball, and Brady's still an accurate quarterback. So I could see that. I could see them getting into the playoffs and losing in the first round, though. I don't know. I'm kind of half and half on that. I kind of liked it because it worked. It would have been nice to have a run pass option. It would have been nice if you had one guy off to the flat, even as a decoy, because that play worked all game. And you go with what works, but nobody was fooled. Nobody was fooled. So I I can't wait for that game. I cannot wait for that game. Now I have money on the Saints over 10.5. So I was really disappointed. And as a Chiefs fan, um, I have to I said this in my very first show. I said that it would be Chiefs, Raiders, Broncos, Chargers, and now I'm thinking Chargers and Broncos. I think the Broncos are really falling apart. I think Vic Fangio could be one of the coaches on his way out. I'll 0-2 teams, and I may not even get a chance for that because I mean we've just been running here, and I this is my favorite part. This is what I want to do. I want to interact with you guys, and bottom line, uh, with the Broncos, I think that there's really a disconnect. Okay, you have a defensive mind, and then you got Elway drafting all offense, trying to build a Colorado version of the Kansas City Chiefs, but with a defensive mind as head coach. And I don't think you can do that. So there's kind of a disconnect. I think what the Chargers are doing is the smart thing to do is like, hey, we can't build an offense to compete with Kansas City, but let's build a defense. And I didn't even talk about that yet. And nobody's brought it up yet, so I'm kind of going to pass on that. You know what? The Lions are a team that should be good in Madden, and you know what? It's probably because Stafford's not that good in Madden, but that's a team that should be good in Madden because if I'm playing, I don't play Madden anymore. I used to play NCAA like a fool. If they come out with a new NCAA game, I will pay $100 easy for that game. But if I'm the Lions, I line up 4 wide and just get crazy and have some fun. So, oh my, Mike, I love you, man. I love you, brother. Don't forget, Mike. You of all people need to give me a thumbs up, man. We need to get together very soon here too. By the way, you're making me jealous because every time you post a picture of you at Pega's, I'm always hungry. So Music City guy, hey man, on the replay, man. I am so glad you joined. Thank you very much, man. I am really enjoying watching Derrick Henry run the ball. I'm an old school guy. I just want him to stay healthy. I want him to stay healthy, but yeah, he needs to stay healthy. And thank you very much for the love, and thanks for the thumbs up. And I'm glad you'll catch me later on. That's you're right. You're right because the defense gave up 34. If the defense isn't that good, and one thing about Brees is that he's probably the most accurate quarterback in the history of the NFL, but the arm looks different, man. The arm doesn't look the same. He doesn't look the same. And without the best receiver in football, bailing him out. One thing I will say is that they looked good running the ball, and that may be something that the Saints may do big time against the Lions. I mean, they did not look good stopping the run. Aaron Jones is a good running back. He's not Pro Bowl running back. I would have Kamara rather than Jones. Jones is very underrated and good, but I think Kamara might be a little better. That's interesting, but I will say this: it is a game the Lions could win. I hope not, because I got money. I got money on the Saints. So, Mr. Funk, I'm glad you're in the house, man. I am glad you're in the house. Yeah, it is going to be interesting. Now, I was a little disappointed because when I heard that they're going to play Simmons at outside linebacker, and I thought he was a better inside linebacker, and then use him as a kind of a hybrid safety. But apparently, they're using him as outside linebacker. I'm kind of excited to watch that game, believe it or not. I don't think they're going to have it playing here in my area, which is unfortunate because I do want to see that. I am pulling for your Lions. Please know I am pulling for the Lions, but I really think Arizona is going to win this game. It'd be good for me because, as you know, I got action on Seattle not only winning over 9.5 games, but winning the division. I think Arizona, even if they go 3-0, I still think they're like a 500 team. But that is a game that they could. That is as a game that the Lions could shock. But the way that they're going to have to shock is that they're going to have to score a ton of points. A ton of points. Oh yeah. I think Fangio is going to be fired, and I'll even double dip here. I think there's a good chance Elway could be gone too because I think they could just blow up the whole team. You know, Andrew Locke's going to be out for a couple weeks. This is a team that made a bunch of free agent moves that really built up the offense, and they were expecting to have a really good defense. Von Miller's out for the whole year. I think Fangio is going to be gone, and maybe LA too. And I know that may be surprising to some, but remember, this team did a lot for John Elway, and John Elway's been there for a long time. He's had some bad drafts. And this was a team that had higher expectations. I thought that they could be a 9-7 team and maybe sneak into the playoffs, but I didn't think they were as good as the Raiders. I thought the Raiders were the second best team in the AFC. I don't care even if the Chiefs lose on Monday night. The Chiefs are 2-1 and the Raiders are 3-0. I still think the Chiefs are easily the best team in the AFC West. But the Broncos are very disappointing, and I think Fangio will also be gone here. And Mike, I probably will, because I've been actually dying for some Pegos. You know, we need to just take Chad, and we all need to go have some fun here. You know, that was I was watching that and I was thinking the same thing. I was like, what the hell? And that's probably because you have to realize if the Falcons are 1-1, they're in good shape, especially with Saints losing. But with them being 0-2, they can still turn the season around. But if the Cowboys started off 0-2, it's really not that big of a deal. And the reason why I say that is McCarthy's job safe. Dan Quinn's is not. I think Dan Quinn is excuse me. I'm sorry, man. I've been changing my diet. It's been doing some weird stuff, but that's why I was hungry as hell. And that's why they brought up Pegas. And anyway, no, that's been in the rules for the last couple of years, trying to make the game safer. And I could argue both ways on that, but no, the blind side has been, they've been doing that for the last couple of years to make games. Ultimately, yeah, but you have to realize, I've never done this, but every single person that I've talked to who's been on an NFL sideline has said the same thing. They say it's so fast. They say it's insanely fast. You have to realize these guys are moving at world-class speeds. It is so hard I remember a former chief, Dexter McCluster, and what he said is that in college you can see a player, but in the NFL, or he said you could see the number on the jersey so you know who hit you, but in the pros, the players move so fast you can't even see a jersey number. You can't tell that you see a blur. It's that fast. So it is very difficult. So but it's the Falcons really botched it, and I think that's going to cost Dan Quinn his job. Keep in mind, I think the Falcons can turn things around. I think they're going to be closer to 500, but if they don't make the playoffs and if they finish 8-8 and lose in the first round of playoffs, I don't think that's good enough. I think they have to be 9-7 and make the playoffs. 9-7 and a first round. Even a first round loss, I think, would be good. Actually, that might actually get him fired. I think if they make the playoffs at 9-7, he'll stay around. I think Quinn is going to be gone. The question is, did Dimitroff go? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't have a chance to text you on this, Scott. No, he had a big game last week. He's probably not. The Raiders, what the Raiders will do is cover Edelman and make Cam Newton throw to the outside. So I would take Gallup because the Seahawks, despite of common. Okay, by the way, if you're wondering what Scott's question is here, he has Michael Gallup or Edelman in fantasy football. Go with Gallup because Gallup's going against a bad Seahawks team that's probably going to put up 40. Seahawks are probably going to put up 40 against Dallas, where this could be a low-scoring game. I do think it's a good thing because we're both Chiefs fans. I do think New England wins. I would be shocked if the Raiders won up in New England. But, yeah. The Falcons outplayed them. Okay. The Cowboys didn't win. The Falcons lost. All right. The Falcons just completely, there's not a better way I can say this. The Falcons completely shit themselves on that onside kick. and they shit themselves the way they played that game. They really should have won that game by double digits. They were a better team. They did everything that they could. Yeah. I was really high on the Falcons at the beginning of the year, and I told everybody, and Alex, I think me and you are on the same page here. The Cowboys don't have that good of a team. The Cowboys don't have that good of a team. They have a lot of talent, but that new system's going to really cause some issues. And with Dak Prescott, this was actually a bad thing for the Cowboys, believe it or not, because Dak Prescott is one thing about Dak Prescott. Now he's got all the power. He's going to say, hey, you know what? I was willing to take 40, but, now I want 45. Hey, wait a minute. Patrick Mahomes is making 50. I'm going to ask, I want some of that $500 million money. He may get it. He may get it. The Dallas Cowboys may have to pony up and give him a bigger deal than Deshaun Watson. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? Think about it. How would you feel? Think about this. Anybody's listening, I want to know your opinion. How would you feel if Dak Prescott makes more money than Deshaun Watson? Deshaun Watson, I thought, signed a team-friendly deal, 4-year, $160 million deal. You could have Dak Prescott signing a 5-year, $230 million deal. That's completely logical. It really is. So he really screws the Cowboys because I'm telling you right now, the Cowboys are going to finish 8-8. Dak Prescott's going to have some good stats. He had a good statistical day. He played well. So what do you do? What do you do? And that game may end up hurting the Cowboys because once you give Dak Prescott all that money, he's not going to play as good. I don't care. I'm sorry. And this sometimes this happens. Sometimes you give a quarterback a lot of money and they play better. But most of the time you give somebody a large amount of money and the play goes down. And the one thing is with the Cowboys, if you give all that money to Dak Prescott, that defense needs help. Are you going to be able to keep Michael Gallup after this year? I mean, there's a lot of questions. So this could really blow up the Cowboys. But the Falcons lost the game. The Cowboys didn't win it. Okay. Finally, we can talk about there is nothing wrong with the Chiefs. I'm gonna drink a glass of water here. There is no secret to how to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. You run the ball. You put pressure on Patrick Mahomes with 4. You double team Kelsey, and you put a safety over the top to prevent the deep ball, and that's how you play against them. What the Chargers did is genius, but there's not many teams that can do this. Okay, they got Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. I'm trying to think off the top of my head if there's a better pass rush duo, and there may not be. There may not be a better pass rush duo in football. So here's what they did. At the very first play, or the very first play of the series with the Chiefs against the Chiefs, Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram were off the field. They were on the sidelines. The very first play, the 2 best pass rushers on the team. Excuse me, were on the sidelines because the Chiefs do a lot of personnel, and this is part to do with scouting and coaching and knowing a divisional opponent. The Chiefs didn't do a lot of hurry up offense, which they normally do. The Chiefs are doing more ball control, running the ball, but they also substitute personnel quite a bit. So what the Chargers did was have their 2 best pass rushers, 2 Pro Bowl kick-ass pass rushers, was they had them on the bench. So what they do is that after 2 or 3 plays in the drive, they put in Bosa, then they put in Melvin Ingram, and keep in mind Mitchell Schwartz, 31, Eric Fisher, 30. Mitchell Schwartz was playing at one of the best levels a right tackle could play. His play has really dropped. He hasn't played as well. So you have a 31-year-old right tackle. His play has dropped. Eric Fisher, he's 30. He is never going to live up to being the first overall pick in the draft, but he's been good. So you have two of the best pass rushers in football that are coming into the game after 3 or 4 plays. Not very many teams can do that. Not very many teams can do that. It was a hell of a coaching job and a hell of a scheme. But any team that can go ahead and have two really good pass rushers on the outside, have them rest for the first couple plays of a series, then have them come in against a pair of 30-plus-year-old tackles is going to cause problems. Now, is there another team that can double team Kelce and put a safety over the top? There's not many. The Chargers are able to do that, but it's not that. It's kind of rare. The Ravens, even though I like the way the Ravens defense matches up against Kansas City, they can't do that. All right, the Ravens don't have two pass rushers. They can't take their two best pass rushers off the field and pressure Mahomes with 4. That's kind of why I really like the Chiefs in 3.5, not at 3, which Bovada has. So, spoiler alert, I like the Chiefs to win Monday night against the Ravens in Baltimore. Scott, it's not inconceivable that Elway's going to be gone. He's not done a good job, and they did a lot of stuff. So, you are correct, Alex. There is a bunch of teams ready to implode. Your Texans is not one of them. Teams. I meant to do this as a special, and I was going to go over all the 0-2, and then I had all these great comments, and this is kind of like my favorite thing, and this is the reason why I do it, is I just want to talk football. This is my all-time favorite thing. I said this last show, and I mean this with all sincerity. If I could go out on a date with a hot girl, or I could sit around with a bunch of guys at a bar and talk football, I'd rather be at a bar with a bunch of guys and talk football. I'm that type of guy. I would rather sit around with a bunch of people and talk football more than anything. I'm not a sports guy because I have no idea what's going on in hockey, or I don't even know, is baseball still going on? I have no clue. I think basketball is going on. A guy I work with is a big basketball fan. He was asking me questions. I don't know who's playing. I think LeBron's with the Lakers, and I think they're good. That's all I know. I have no clue. Hey, Funk, man, I'm going to tell you something. The Raiders, I think the Raiders are a team I've always had a ton of respect for. They're a team that I love when they're good and you hate them, but yeah. Yeah, Mike, I see that. But I actually do have a soft spot for Raiders. A lot of respect. A lot of love, and I think the NFL's better when the Raiders play well and they're a villain. And by the way, the best rivalry of the 20s may be Chiefs and Raiders again. You're an old time football fan, so you're an old time football fan like myself, and you respect the history of the game. So having the Chiefs and the Raiders both be really good teams, and neither one of these teams have been really good for a while. It seems like when the Raiders are good, the Chiefs are bad. The Chiefs are really good, the Raiders are bad. I really think that in the decade of the 20s, the Chiefs and the Raiders are going to be two teams that are really, really going to be alive. And on a plus note, I would never go to Oakland, but I will go to Vegas and watch a Raiders game. So, hey, man. I think the NFL is better, but I was not happy with them winning last night. Let's be clear about that. So, well, I mean, he's going to get paid. I'm just not sure if it's with the Cowboys, but if you're the Cowboys, how do you justify getting rid of him, which I think they want to do? I really think the Cowboys want to go in a different direction, because if they didn't, they would want to go ahead and sign him this season, which I think they should have done. I think they're going to fly or I got him. Ugh. Got that mosquito. If they wanted Dak Prescott to be the long-term plan, they would have signed him this year to a long-term deal and save the money. But the way he's performing, he's going to you're not going to be able to pay him. And that's a whole new situation is who do you bring in? But I would take Watson over Prescott any day of the week. But no, he's going to get some money. He's going to get some money. And you're right. If he does have some bad games, it'll be easy to get rid of him. I think going into the season, they were looking to get rid of him. But if he keeps performing at a high level, even though I still think the Cowboys are going to go 8-8, they may be forced to sign him. It'll be interesting. If you're talking about from the Chiefs, the Chiefs actually have a few other weaknesses, but they have some holes at linebacker. They have their best defensive back suspended first 4 games, but they have a rookie who's had interceptions. Excuse me. They have a rookie who's had interceptions in the first 2 games, really stepped up and played really well. Kind of a surprise, really. At least I gave the Chiefs draft a C-. I wasn't happy. And then the player who I liked the most was their 3rd round pick, who was going to be the 6th tackle. He's sitting out with the corona, and he was a big part. They were going to use him, and I think the Chiefs' plan was to have him be the starting left tackle this year because Eric Fisher makes a lot of money, and of course they gave Patrick Mahomes $1 jillion. So the Chiefs have some issues currently. The linebackers are not good. The offensive line is not playing well. But one thing the Chiefs are doing, and they're doing this on purpose, is they're running the ball more. They're playing more ball control. I'm not going to call them out, but it was a site I really enjoy and really watch. They said the one bad thing about the Chiefs is they don't have a defensive line who can generate pass rush, and that's just flat wrong. They have a really good defensive line. They just don't have good linebackers. They can put pressure on the quarterback. They're trying to be more of a balanced team, but the thing is about the Chiefs is that they can easily come out and score points in bunches. So that's kind of the good thing about being a Chiefs fan. CEH is for real, and I wasn't happy with the pick. I really wanted Swift. Now it looks silly, but hey, I don't mind admitting I'm wrong. Don't mind admitting I'm wrong. They put, okay, if you're not aware, what teams are doing is they can put in their own sound effects. So the Eagles, I don't know who's in charge of doing this, but the Eagles actually put in boos, and they were booing themselves. So whoever controls the sound, which I thought was by the home team, I thought they could control it, but they actually have boos from they actually have boos from their whoever does the sound at the home game, which I thought was really funny. I have, I've done this too. It's funny. I never watch the Chiefs at a bar. I never watch the Chiefs at a bar. I've never done that. I don't do it. It's been a long time since I've watched football at a bar, but when I went out to Vegas, the first time I went out to Vegas, I had a Chiefs jersey, and a lot of people had comments. When I was playing cards, I wore the hat for the Super Bowl and ended up talking to a guy, and then he recognized me because I told him I had action on the Super Bowl. So I told him, we ended up talking. Matter of fact, he was saying he was going to put action on Minnesota winning the Super Bowl next year. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off on a rant. But yeah, in Vegas, I ended up talking football to Cowboy Hat, get some talk. But yeah, we really should. I don't know if you remember my buddy Sean, but I've been trying to get him out of the house. And yes, yeah, my last girlfriend, by the way, loved Mike. She just raved about Mike because he sang to her and she loved singing. And he told me to marry the girl, and I dumped her. So yeah. So I didn't know that about June Jones, but I love June Jones. Matter of fact, he was at one point the highest paid employee in the state of Hawaii, and he left Hawaii to go to SMU, and he didn't have any success at SMU. It may have been because he wanted to coach somewhere else. I didn't know that, but I love June Jones, and that would be very interesting. I actually think that the offense that they have would be perfect for what June Jones wants to run. He's a guy that I always loved. I always loved June Jones. So that would be interesting. If he wants to coach in the NFL, I actually think he could get a job. I think as of right now, I think we just named, I think, 5 to 6 different coaches that are potentially going to be fired. It would not surprise me if June Jones, if a team was interested, but he may not be interested in coming back to the NFL. I don't know, but I always liked June Jones. I didn't know he was in Houston, and I'll be honest, Alex. You've been very good about staying here, and so I'm hopeful that as I continue doing the show, hopefully we can talk about this some more, because if Houston doesn't look like they're going to be a playoff team, I kind of want to touch base on this. I might even steal that, and I'll give you full credit, but June Jones would be a really good fit, because keep in mind, Bill O'Brien's the general manager. So if they make a head coaching change, you have to make a general manager change. So you would go ahead and bring in a general manager who would handle all the front office decisions. June Jones would just coach that offense. The defense wouldn't change at all. You would keep the same defensive coordinator. So that's really good. That's very underrated, but actually, not only do I like it, I think it would work. Yeah, they had a ton of injuries, and keep in mind, over the last couple of years, the Eagles have started slow and they finished strong. So yeah, they so don't give up on the Eagles, yes, but yeah, they had boos. I thought it was hilarious. How does a team that controls its own sound have and boo their own players? That's just classic Philly, man. It's just classic Philly. Well, it will be very, very interesting. That would be very, very interesting. I think what will happen is because I think the Cowboys will be in a playoff hunt towards the end of the season. But after this season, that will be the number one topic: is will they be able to sign? Will they be able to sign Dak Prescott? And ultimately, I don't know if they will or not. I mean, to be honest with you, if his numbers are big, let's just say he throws for over 5,000, which as of today is a legitimate possibility. He may say, "Hey, look, I was happy at 40. Now I want 50 million." And that's not out of the question. His agent right now is probably hitting up people saying, "Hey, I want minimum of 45." Right now, Dak Prescott's agent's asking for 5 years, 225 million. That's what he's asking for right now. And I think that there's going to be a team that will probably say, "Hey, we'll take it." Off the top of my head, seriously, the first team I could think of off the top of my head would be the Jets, because I think the Jets is going to just blow everything up. Of course, I think that would be a mistake because I like Darnold, but just off the top of my head. But you could take a team that's looking to move on from its quarterback situation. Dak Prescott could be the guy. So, yes. Okay. Scott. Yes. That was the young girl I took to the range. That was my girlfriend, and she loved Buffa. She raved about Buffa constantly. She was like, "Oh, he's my favorite." And so yes, but yeah. But yes, I would rather talk football with a bunch of guys than go out on a date with a pretty young girl. Yeah, so yes. That would be a lot of fun. That would be a lot of fun. And there's been talk about Jim Harbaugh, because he's never beaten Ohio State, and there's a lot of people I think he would take over, but they're really happy. Brian Flores, the Miami one thing that the Dolphins did is that they signed him to a 5-year deal. So the plan was to build a team up from the bottom. So it basically what it is that Brian Flores isn't going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. And they drafted a lot of projects, which I thought was really weird because I thought that this was a team that could compete. But you remember at 18, they drafted the kid out of USC, and his name escapes me right now. But he was a guy who just turned 21, and he's a young guy. And then they drafted the kid. I can't remember all the guys' name, but those 3 first-round picks, all of them were projects. And then there are 2 second-round picks. Both of them were projects. So if all of them hit, which is rare in a draft to go 5 for 5 in a draft, but Flores isn't going anywhere. But it would not surprise me if Jim Harbaugh comes back to the NFL. It would not surprise me at all. Wow. I've always liked Matthew Stafford. I was a big fan of Matthew Stafford. I remember when he was a true freshman at Georgia. I watched him 5 minutes, and I was like, this guy's first round pick. I mean, this dude, phenomenal arm. So if you and keep in mind, Detroit's going to get a new head coach. Do they want to bring in a new head coach and bring in Dak Prescott? And it would be interesting, but yeah, that's actually something that could work because the way Stafford's contract set up is that they could get rid of him after this year. But I like I said, I think Eric Bieniemy is going to be in Detroit. I think Eric Bieniemy would like Stafford, but it wouldn't surprise me if they get a coach who wants to bring in Dak Prescott and give Dak Prescott a lot of money and then give Detroit fans, because that Dak Prescott jersey would sell out in Detroit. Everybody in Detroit would have a Dak Prescott jersey. That whole situation with Dak Prescott, I think, because I still think the Cowboys are going to be about 8-18. And even if they do win the East at 8-8 or 9-7, they're going to lose in the first round. And he's going to ask for $50 million a year. And if the Cowboys pay him, then they're going to sabotage their team. Ultimately, if they were sold on Prescott, they would have signed him this year. So, yeah, Austin Jackson, that was his name. Oh, Noah Igbebu. Yeah, I could not. Igbenogany. I tried pronouncing his name. I tried practicing it because I had a huge draft crush on him. I actually thought he was going to go to Minnesota because I thought he was going to be a Mike Zimmer guy. And I really liked the guy, but if you don't know anything about him, he was a guy who came to Auburn as it was either a 4-star or I think it was a 4-star, but he's an ESPN top. I think it's a top 100. ESPN is a top 150 and a top 100, but I know he's a top 150 wide receiver, and he was really, really good. And what Auburn decided to do, and I don't know the specifics, but they switched him to defensive back. I think after his freshman year, so he's just learning to play defensive back, but he's a guy that is really, really raw. Remember, they spent all that money on Byron Jones. So I was really surprised they took him, but I didn't really see him as a nickel. He seems like an outside guy. So I'm kind of surprised at taking him, but he's a guy I really liked. He's just raw. He can play on special teams. He's a 4-down player. But after they gave Byron Jones, I think it was $80 million. So using a corner for the first round, it's kind of weird, but it's funny too, because the team that they want to beat, the Bills now throwing the ball everywhere, but the Bills traditionally have been a running team, and now the Patriots are a running team. So the Dolphins are going to spend all this money on a bunch of corners when they really need to stop the run. Of course, they spend all that money, and Josh Allen throws for over 400 yards. So that's well, that's one thing I really like what Flores is doing is just having him sit for a year. Patrick Mahomes sat for a year. Aaron Rodgers, of course, sat for a couple of years. Drew Brees sat for a year. Tom Brady sat for a year. Of course, Tom Brady's a 6th-round pick. But bottom line, that's kind of why a lot of people thought that over 6 would have been a good thing for the Dolphins. I was ready to put action on over 6, especially after the way they ended the season, but they drafted all these projects, and then Tua's not going to be ready to play. And Fitzpatrick, hey, I think he's a perfect backup quarterback. And I think if you're the Dolphins, you want him to stay, but Tua's the start of the team. I'm kind of waiting for him to come in for like a series, and I think that could happen very soon. I think it could happen. It could happen tomorrow. Actually, it would not surprise me if Tua gets a few snaps any day now. So, um, hey Pete, I was going to ask you. What happened because I talked to a bunch of Bills fans. I got some Bills fans, Bills Mafia, Danielle. I can't remember her Twitter handle, but I ended up direct messaging her, and I'm like, what happened? And apparently the Bills had a bunch of injuries on defense, which is key because they play in a very good matchup against the Rams, which I'm surprised a lot of people are really high on the Rams right now. But I was going to ask you because I didn't have a chance to watch this game. Was it? I mean, they spent a lot of money. Remember, it was like, wasn't it it was 5-year, $80 million deal. They're spending over $30 million a year just on those two corners. So how do you give up over 400 yards? Josh Allen has a massive amount of upside. Chiefs fans are going to hate this, but he has the strongest arm in the NFL. And he's always going to have big games, but I think he's always going to be a guy that has more potential than production. That's just my opinion. But I was surprised that he threw for 400. Rodgers is another guy. It's funny we talked about Dak Prescott. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be on another team. And if him and McCarthy didn't have such a beef, it wouldn't have surprised me if Rodgers went to Dallas for a year and then have Dak Prescott go somewhere else. But this is a team I thought really did some bad things in the draft, and not getting a receiver and then trading up for that quarterback, I thought was a bad move. And Aaron Rodgers can play, man. Aaron Rodgers can play, and keep in mind something. The Packers have a pretty good defense, not great defense. Aaron Jones is a good running back. Aaron Rodgers at his best is the best quarterback I've ever seen. This is a team that I really think was not going to be 13 wins. I mean, they're going to take a step back, obviously going to take a step back. So, but it looks like as of right now, they're going to go to the playoffs. And Aaron Rodgers at 100% with a decent defense and a running game, that's scary. That is scary. That is very scary. And Pete, I'm going to get you. I'm going in order, but Pete, you're right, because Cam's on a 1-year deal. It wouldn't surprise me if Aaron Rodgers went up to Green Bay for a year or two. I'm going in order though. But yeah, Pete, I'm 100%. Chad, my brother, it's funny. We were just talking about you. Scott and Mike both joined in. We actually talked about Morgan for a little bit. So yeah, but Chad, I am so glad to see you, man. I know you're giving me a thumbs up, and we've talked about Pegas, so we might have to do that this weekend. So yeah. Okay, it's not the last year on his contract. He's got 2 more years, but he could be traded. But he signed a big deal. It's like $36 million a year, which of course now doesn't sound that bad, but at the time it was really big considering his age. He does have a beef with the head coach. Rodgers has always been kind of difficult, and I don't know if you remember that article about Rodgers just. Teammates were complaining about walking on eggshells, and he's the type of guy that thinks this stuff doesn't stink, and he would change like half the plays McCarthy called in, and like what was McCarthy going to do, and there's always 2 sides to a story, but I've heard issues with Rodgers being difficult to work with, and when they hired the head coach, Packers management apparently called Rodgers and they said, "Hey, we want no problems with you," and I thought that was very, very telling. So Rodgers is probably going to be gone after this year. They could keep him around, But yeah, he does have an issue with the head coach. I think he's still got it's kind of funny because I think he could go somewhere and be a very, very, very good quarterback. There was talk about him going to San Francisco, which to me makes a lot of sense. Uh, I actually made a video right after the Super Bowl saying Shanahan could be fired because, anyway, I'm kind of going to go on a rant, but Rodgers and Dak Prescott could both be gone after this year. And that would be very entertaining. It'd be very, very, very entertaining as a football fan. But it'd be interesting to see where both of them go. Yes, Rodgers does have a beef with the head coach. It was very stupid of them to trade up in the first round to draft his replacement, especially coming off of a 13-win season. This is a team that they would have drafted another wide receiver, especially with Devontae Adams getting hurt, that could be really, really good. I mean, they're still good. Don't get me wrong, but are you looking at Green Bay? If there's any Packers fans, I'd love to know, but are people looking at Green Bay and going, hey, this is a Super Bowl team? I think you're looking at them and you're still saying, hey, you're not as good as the 13-3 win team because that was kind of a mirage. So, is that what happened? Well, they spent a lot of money on the pass rush, and I mentioned the Chargers, how they played Kansas City. Was that here's how you beat Patrick Mahomes is that you put pressure on them with 4. But that actually makes a lot of sense. And I could see that. And keep in mind, Brian Flores, even though Miami's going to stick with him, there's no proof that he's a good coach. I mean, yeah, they ended the season strong, but here's a guy who's going into his second year. He's coached 18 games. He's only won 5. All right. 5-13 is not a good record. So, and that's something that he's got to learn how to do. But, Flores isn't going anywhere, but I think that Miami's a team that's kind of, yeah, I understand what they're doing, but is it going to work? Because keep in mind, if they win 5 or 6 games again, they're going to go into year 3 with playoffs or bust, and that's never a good thing. So if Miami doesn't get things turned around, and by the way, we haven't had a chance to talk about Miami and Jacksonville. I fully expect Jacksonville to win this game. Right now, I here's what makes me mad. I want to put action on the game, and I haven't had a chance to check out Bovada, but everybody's at 3. I really wanted to. It was at 2.5, and I wanted to pull the trigger on it. But if I can put action on 2.5, I'm not going to put a lot. If I will try it my best. If I do get 2.5, I'll try my best to make a video of it. I'm tempted to do 3, but I mean, we'll have to see. No, he has 2 years on the contract. I think he has 2 to 3 years being a really good quarterback, possibly elite. But when you draft a quarterback in the first round, I think that the plan is the Packers want to change their team. They want to be more of a running team. And that's kind of the plan. They're going to win with defense and running game. They're going to get rid of Rodgers and spend that money that they had with Rodgers on building up the rest of the team. I don't think that's a smart move, but that's what they want to do. So what you're going to do is build up your team without Rodgers, which I think I kind of have brain freeze right there, but. Yeah, he wasn't happy with the head coach. The head coach, I think, wants to move on. This was really, I think, some really bad mismanagement because I think Green Bay realistically was expecting them to be like an 8-8 team. They weren't expecting to go to the playoffs last year, and they're going to build the team from the ground up, which meant moving on from Rodgers after this year. But when they went 13-3, it kind of screwed everything up. So now, they traded up, they got their quarterback, and they're playing. They drafted and built this team like they're rebuilding, but they're a team that's probably going to make the playoffs. It's really confusing. But yeah, Rodgers is probably not happy. I don't think he should be happy. And I would love it. This is me. I would love it if he went to the Bears because Trubisky's contract's going to end. They put a bunch of money in the Foles, who didn't win the starting job. I would love it if Rodgers went to the Bears. I would love it. I'm hoping it happens. And keep in mind, Matt Nagy, a very good quarterbacks coach. I think him and Rodgers would work well together, and that'd be a lot of fun. I don't think it's possible from a salary standpoint, and I know for a fact the Packers would not trade Rodgers to the Bears, but I would love for that to happen. But yeah, they don't get along. You can kind of tell that. So um it's I'll tell you what, I really like what Cam Newton's doing in New England. I kind of think that what will happen is I think Cam will sign a 2 or 3 year deal with New England. I think he'll stay in New England for a year or two. I think New England will either do that or I think they'll draft a quarterback. It wouldn't surprise me though if Cam Newton signed a free agent deal with somewhere else if Rodgers ends up in New England. If Cam Newton doesn't end up signing a deal before the end of the year, Cam Newton's going to get big money, and it wouldn't surprise me. It's not as the inconsistent. Okay, I think the Pats are done winning Super Bowls, but would it surprise me if Rodgers ends up in New England? Answer is no. I agree. I agree. See, I think what Green Bay should have done is drafted a defensive coach and said, you do whatever you want. You do whatever you want on the offensive side of the ball. I'm going to build up this defense. And that's how I would have done it, by taking a young head coach who's an offensive mind who wants to run the ball. Made no sense. And it's really funny because what they did in the offseason 2 years ago, they spent $100 million on those outside linebackers, and then they ended up panning out and having a good defense with Aaron Rodgers. This is a team that really should have built themselves up to try to win a Super Bowl this year. Instead, they built for the future, which, Jordan Love, if he ends up being, the next coming of Patrick Mahomes, which I watched him play at Utah State. Now, keep in mind, I watched him play in 2 blowout losses. I thought he was like a 5th-round pick. The athleticism stands out, but the decision-making, the footwork, everything. Now, keep in mind, I also wasn't high on Patrick Mahomes, so what the hell do I know? But keep in mind, I was not high on Jordan Love. Could he come in and be a good quarterback? Sure. Is he going to be as good as Aaron Rodgers? Let's see here, because they traded up to the 26th spot. Now Brandon Ayuk's been injured, but you could have got Brandon Ayuk, who could be decent. I was going to say they could have drafted CEH, which is tearing it up for the Chiefs, but Aaron Jones is a pretty good player. So, yeah, I agree though. 100% agree. They should have got a defensive mind, but anyway, that's what they did. Really? I did not know that. I did not know that. That kind of explained it, because I saw the highlights of Diggs, and I've been saying this, and I know so far it's worked out, but I think trading all those picks for Diggs was a big mistake. I think they should have gone with a rookie and kept building up that defense, which, with all those injuries, that's another thing. The Bills-Rams game, it's a battle of two, I think, surprise 2-0 teams, and that's going to be very, very interesting. But Flores isn't going anywhere, but year 3, they need to make the playoffs, and they need to make playoffs with a quarterback who's going to be a rookie. Tua's going to be a starter next year, and he needs to make the playoffs. So that's a lot of pressure, and probably a bad move. All right, hey guys, hey, listen, I know I've been saying this. Been saying this a couple times, but don't forget, give me a thumbs up, get the algorithm going. The way YouTube is that the more thumbs up, the more people are drawn to my channel, and it's always more fun when I get more people into the show. At least when I say fun, I'm talking about me. I'm being selfish here because I love talking with different fans, different fan bases. I just met Pete, who just joined. I think you've been tuning into the live streams here for a couple weeks, but I love the fact I got some Florida fans down here. I think it is awesome. So, I can't thank you guys enough because I've had some really great comments from you guys. And this is my favorite thing in the world, just sitting around talking football. It's my number one thing in the whole world. I have plans of what I was going to do for the show, and I just said, screw it. I don't care. I just want to talk football. You guys have questions. I got answers. But I was not aware that Flores put a rookie on Diggs. That is not smart. And, you know, if Jones went down after giving him all that money, ooh, man. All right, they shouldn't. The one thing I have to say is at Davante Adams and why they didn't get another receiver is still, especially in last year's draft. If Green Bay was smart, if they end up starting off 3-0, 4-0, or whatever, it wouldn't surprise me if they tried to make a trade for a veteran wide receiver or make some sort of a move. Maybe give up a second or a third round pick. I've seen teams do this before in the past, so it'll be interesting. So I could see him going to Chicago. It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? I mean, it really does. Let's start it. You know, Rodgers to the Bears in 2021. I would love it. Yeah. Did you watch him? I watched him play 2 games. Both were blowout losses, and he looked terrible. I looked at him and I said 5th round. I looked at him. I said, this is a 5th round guy. Matter of fact, I cannot remember his name, but he played for the University of Buffalo. What it is that he signed with the MAC school, even though he was a pretty good high school player, but he was kind of undersized, and he was one of those rare guys who just explodes. He went from 6'2" to like 6'7" in college, and he grew to like 6'7", 240, and he ran like a 4.6, and he had this rocket arm. And I remember watching him, and I thought he was better than Jordan Love. People were talking about him being a 3rd round pick. Ended up going undrafted. I think Buffalo drafted him and then cut him. But I was not high on Jordan Love at all. I watched him play, and I remember thinking he had a couple different options. He could have just gone to a different school. Staying at Utah State, because I think they they didn't have a coaching change, but they didn't have a real good recruiting class coming in, and he just felt like he was just going to play for another 5-7, 6-6 team. But if he was a really good quarterback, don't you think you could have gotten them to a bowl game? That said, Patrick Mahomes last year, Texas Tech, was 5-7. So, I think ideally they would love for Rodgers to stay for another year. I don't think it'll happen. I would love to see him go to Chicago. That's something that we should, kind of get the train going on. But yeah, Bill signing these. Yeah. It's I really think that now keep in mind the base contract's like $1 million, but incentives it could go up to like $7 million, which is actually dirt cheap for an NFL quarterback. But still, I think that he'll end up signing Cam Newton. I think he'll sign like a 2 or 3 year deal. I think it'll be a team friendly deal. And I think the reason why is that Cam realizes, hey, I got a chance to be with a good franchise. And another thing about NFL players is that when you're in a big market, Carolina is not, you make a lot of money on endorsements. And you can make a lot of money, doing yogurt. Remember he was on doing those yogurt commercials and a lot of other stuff. Carolina is not a big market. Boston is. And so he may be able to sign a team-friendly deal and be able to do a bunch of commercials. That could be something. It wouldn't surprise me, though, if he says, hey, you know what? I want to go to another team. I want to be the face. I want big money. But I don't think he's going to get it. I think him in New England's actually a pretty good fit. I think they'll come to a deal for like 2 or 3 years. I think it'll be team-friendly. And Cam will make enough money with endorsements that will kind of offset, making the major money that some of these quarterbacks are making. But I think he'll sign with New England, and I think they'll get it done a deal done towards the end of the year, but don't be surprised if New England drafts a quarterback in round one either. I could see that too. The Bills linebackers are hurt. That was something that Bills Mafia shared with me, is they had a ton of injuries. I think Ed Oliver's going to be out. Some people that I think very highly of actually like the Rams in this game. My first reaction was the Rams, a West Coast team traveling to the East Coast for a noon game against a good defense. But I think that Goff will he'll have a good game. This is going to be a fun game. This is going to be a really fun game. And the winner of this game is really in good position. Here's the thing about the Rams. Okay, the over-under was 8.5. I felt that they were too talented to win 8 games, but I didn't see them winning 9 either. So I had a hard time going one way or another, because here's the deal. If they're 3-0, you got to pay attention, because you have a good offense and the NFL's best defensive player. And I've heard Ramsey's the best corner in football. I don't think he's that good, but you paid him. You gave him $100 million, so he better be playing at a pretty high level. So bottom line, the Rams, if the Rams win this game and go 3-0, and you're right, Goff is going to have a good game. That's a fun team. The Bills go 3-0. I still think that the Patriots win that division. I don't care. I don't care if the Bills are 3-0. I think Bills fans saw the 400 and got overly excited. So, well, one thing they did do is they gave Gilmore a big raise, and they also had a bunch of players that they're giving money to. But the Patriots always have a system in play. It's kind of interesting, because what they do is that Bill Belichick says you want a certain amount of players at this age, and you want a certain amount of players at this age, and you want a certain amount of players at this age. You can only have I don't know the exact number, but he says you can only have 4 stars. But the way that they manage the cap's a little different than a lot of teams. But they did give They did give some extra money to Gilmore. I think Edelman makes decent money. But also a lot of players that stepped away from COVID. I know Hightower was actually making decent money. But the Patriots have a system in play. But they will. I think them and Cam will get a deal together. So it's funny, Chad. I'm having an adverse effect, because over the last couple of days I decided I'm going to try to put on 15 to 20 pounds until February. I'm trying to bulk up, and I've never done it before, and so I've been trying to eat a lot of foods, but it's not. It's kind of weird, but yeah, I'm trying to bulk up. That's why we need to do lunch at Pega's here, so I can have some steak and eggs, which sounds really good right now. And Alex, I hope it's just from the 0-2 Texans, and even if you lose, you're going to get things turned around. But hopefully that's all it is. So I don't know. Because I remember he had that push off. But if he's the best corner in football, then he's 105. I don't think he's the best, but I heard he had a great game last week. So, but I mean, you give him 105 million, and you better put him on your best player. He better be the best corner in football. I don't know if he is. I would still take Gilmore, even though he didn't play that good against Metcalf. By the way, it's a sore spot for me, because the Chiefs at pick number 63 drafted Juan Thornhill instead of DK Metcalf. I'm still mad about that, even though Thornhill's played decent. Well, here's the thing, Scott. I did not talk with anybody in the Chargers organization, but I really think that if the Chargers had the number 1 pick in the draft, they would have drafted Justin Herbert. And the reason why is that Justin Herbert was a 4-year starter at Oregon. He was the Rose Bowl MVP. The Rose Bowl played in LA. You build a $5 billion stadium. You want an attraction. The attraction is Justin Herbert. A lot of people try to pick Justin Herbert apart, but the one thing that you can't pick apart is that he's experienced. He is big. He is athletic. He has got a strong arm. He has I actually think that the Chargers had Justin Herbert pegged as the number one quarterback in the draft. Now, the Bengals had Joe Burrow as their number one quarterback. I think the Miami Dolphins had Tua as their number one quarterback, but I think the Chargers had Justin Herbert as their number one quarterback, and he is their franchise. Justin Herbert, after that performance against the Chiefs, will have to start. Tyrod Taylor was just going to be the starter for 4 games, 5 games, 6 games. But bottom line, he was never intended to be the long-term solution. I actually like Tyrod Taylor because I watched him play at Virginia Tech and really loved his game. He signed on with the Ravens as an undrafted free agent and just worked his way up. And I love his game. But he's going to be gone. It's just a question of when. It's just a question of when. So he better be for all that money. Better be. Okay. Well, here's the deal with the Panthers. Oh God, I'm drawing a brain fart on the coach. He was the Baylor's head coach. They gave him a 7-year, $60 million deal, which I've never heard. And this guy was a coach for the Giants in 2012. He was like a receiver's assistant, but Tom Coughlin, who was with the Giants organization at the time, thought really highly of him. I'm drawing a blank on his name. So he got the head coaching job at Temple, which at the time was considered not a good job. And he ended up developing a relationship with the defensive coordinator who took with him to Baylor, who is now the defensive coordinator for the Panthers. And bottom line, his first year at Baylor, they won 1 game, but a couple years later, they won 11. They used their whole draft on defensive players, and they're just starting from scratch. And I tried telling people this, the Panthers are going to be bad, but the system they ran at Temple and the system they ran at Baylor does not fit Cam Newton at all. So it was no surprise to me that Cam went away. Carolina's going to be a dumpster fire this year. Okay. They're going to be a dumpster fire no matter what, but they're going to build things around. So, oh, wow. Okay. So, this year's really going to suck for the Panthers. It would not surprise me if they win 2 games. And it would not surprise me if they make a big push to draft Trevor Lawrence, who plays right there in Clemson, and would be huge. It wouldn't surprise. I think that's kind of what they're intending to doing. Now they did sign Bridgewater to a 3-year deal, which means that you really only want him to play for 2. So I think the plan is for them to draft a quarterback really high in the draft, and they're going to have a top 5 pick. It looks like Carolina. I didn't get really a chance to do it because I'm going on an hour and 45, so I guess I'm not. But this has been a ton of fun for me. Hopefully, it's a ton of fun for you guys. Hopefully, I'll get a chance to take a look at the thumbs up. Hopefully, I have a bunch of them. If you haven't yet, give me a thumbs up. No, the Panthers are going to suck this year, but this is the plan. When you give a head coach who doesn't have any head coaching experience except for college ranks, a 7-year deal, and you bring with him his college defensive coordinator. And if you're not familiar with Baylor, they ran a very multifaceted system, and they came out and they said that, remember, Ron Rivera went from a 4-3 to a hybrid 3-4, which was a disaster and ended up getting him fired. And now he's going back to his old 4-3 defense in Washington. They were public that they're going to run a 4-3, but then they drafted players who really fit a 3-4. So they're building, I think that what they're trying to do is build a hybrid defense in Carolina, but they said they're running a 4-3. So that's just going to take time. And then the offense that they're trying to build has actually been semi-successful so far. Excuse me. But bottom line, yeah, Panthers are just going to suck this year. Yeah, okay. You're 100% correct because if you remember, they brought in like 4 or 5 offensive coordinators, and all of them tried to tell Cam, "Hey, we don't want you to run as much. We want you to work on your footwork." And he never listened to them. And that was one thing that I remember they brought in Mike Shula, and Mike Shula, Don Shula's son, who was a former head coach, didn't have a good record as a head coach, and he was actually head coach at Alabama for a short period of time too. But he's a well-respected offensive coordinator. He was public. He said, I tried to work with Cam's footwork. He just didn't want to do it, and now he's with New England, and he is listening to coaching. But yeah, he would have failed in Carolina because the system that they're running doesn't fit. What they're doing in New England is they're working with his strength. But then Cam, if you watch Cam his first 2 games, he's never looked this mechanically sound. And that's big because in Carolina, he was able to do whatever he wanted. But if you remember the owner who was really, really big and loved Cam, remember the owner ended up having to sell his team? Well, the new owner came in. He's actually a big fan of Pittsburgh. He was actually from the East Coast somewhere. He doesn't have that relationship. That's why he was able to get rid of Cam and build a team the way he wants to build it, which is without Cam Newton. Cam's style is unique, but they can work with it in New England, and that's why I think he'll sign with New England after the year is up. However, if he doesn't, and he goes to another team, it wouldn't surprise me if Rodgers ends up being a Patriot, which would scare me. I I did not know he had a punctured lung. I heard ribs. Wow, I did not know. Yeah. Wow. Wow. I did not know this, man. Um. Because I knew he had sore ribs and was complaining about problems breathing. Wow. I did not know this. Wow. It's extremely shocking. Wow. He might lose his license. I have to look into that. I was not aware of that. Mike, I actually use Twitter quite a bit, but I don't think me and you are Twitter friends. So uh, I'm probably going to wrap this up here in a little bit. But one thing I am going to do is that if you look at the description below, follow me on social media. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can always email me. I'm going to put it here right here. I'm going to put it here right here. You can always email me at thedanshow@yahoo.com. Follow me on social media. I very rarely post anything else except football. Occasionally, I will. Occasionally, I will post pictures of me going shooting with Mike and Chad and Scott and Sean, even though Sean does not join the show. But yeah, it is really wow. I had no idea. And oh, okay, you found it on Reddit. I did not know this. Yeah, see, here's what I heard. He was complaining about tightness in his chest. He was complaining about problems breathing, and and then that's why Herbert didn't even know. And the way he played against the Chiefs was really, really good. Herbert is a guy who I think he's going to be a good quarterback. So these guys are really good friends of mine, and we go shooting together. And Scott, I apologize I didn't get back to you sooner. My phone's charging and it should be charged up, but if you didn't get a chance to listen earlier, start Gallup. Start Gallup. Bottom line, the Seahawks don't have that good of a defense, so start Gallup over Edelman. I really think the Raiders will try to take Edelman away and start Russell Wilson every single week you can. I would recommend keeping Tannehill just because Russell Wilson does run the ball a lot. So keep Tannehill on the bench. Those would be my fantasy football recommendations. As far as your defense is concerned, I know you got Buffalo, and they're going to make some plays, but they got a ton of injuries. You have the weirdest scoring system of all time of any fantasy football league. I wouldn't worry too much about your defense. Just stick with the Bills. So This year or last year? I hope you win, because anytime somebody can use my advice to win money, it brings me joy. Hopefully, it's better advice than what I'm having, because as of right now, I'm down almost $400 for the year. But if I do put action on Thursday Night Football, I will try to do a quick video and release it before Thursday Night Football. I'm leaning towards going with Bovado. So, oh, 10-4. Okay. I did not get it. My bad. My bad. All right, lunch will be on Scott. All right, guys. Hey, listen, I apologize. I didn't get a chance to do my 0-2 special like I wanted to, but we ended up talking football, which is my favorite thing in the world. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it, because I had a bunch of great comments, had a bunch of great input, and that's ultimately what I wanted. I will have a show Friday. This Friday, I am gonna break down every single game. I'm gonna give you a preview of what I'm gonna put action down on. There are 2 games I'm eyeballing, but you're gonna have to wait till Friday to find out what I'm gonna put action on, how much. And I'll also have a video Saturday of what I'm going to do. If I end up doing it on Bovado, then I'll have to figure out a way to post like what I'm going to do. So I will have that done for you. So anyway, guys, I am out Friday, 7 p.m. Another show. Remember, if you have a question, I have an answer. So we're arguing about who's going to pay. And by the way, it's all on you guys. So anyway, I will see you guys Friday.